Recollections May Vary, a royal recap. I'm Kinsey Schofield here with Maureen Callahan, host of The Nerve with Maureen Callahan. What's coming up this week? I have to tell you really quickly. I saw today, I have to finish watching it. You go into like BS celebrity beauty, hacks or lies. I don't, how quickly I put thorough body after Gwyneth Paltrow posted about it over the weekend on in my cart. It was shocking. So I'm hoping you're not going to tell me that Gwyneth Paltrow is lying about the thorough body.
Actually, I leave Gwyneth alone in this segment, but I do
Okay.
take Gwyneth to task at the top of the show, and I take her celeb spawn out to the woodshed at the end of the show with a scandal that nobody will believe it. It's so vicious and savage, and they've tried to cover it up. It's alleged, but
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and proceed with purchase and I will worry about it, whether or not it actually works
give
later.
me your Yelp review when you're done with it. Let me see.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So I want that this story comes out. I immediately think of you. I want to immediately start tearing into this person, but I thought I'd hold on to it until we actually spoke because I know that you know how much of a terror Chrissy Teigen is. And
Mhm.
the idea that Meghan Markle, that's the big name Meghan Markle has for season 2 of With Love, Meghan. Does that just confuse you beyond all comprehension from a PR perspective to place these two women, allegedly notorious bullies, next to each other, two women that are trying to fight this narrative? Doesn't that just enhance everyone's mind? Like in our minds, aren't we looking at these two standing next to each other going, Satan spawn and Satan spawn's BFF? There's just, I can't imagine a publicist going, this sounds like a great idea.
I agree with you completely, as always. As in 99% of the time, I agree with you, Kinsey. But we're not talking about normal people here. We are talking about two desperate fame whores who married men to elevate their own stature. Chrissy Teigen has no talent. Like I
Yeah.
talked about this on The Nerve, actually, the last episode. Like she was famous for a minute because people would be like, "Oh wow, isn't she so clever on social media? Like, isn't she so funny?" And then it came out that she was bullying a young starlet named Courtney Stodden, both on the open internet and then sliding into her DMs and saying, "You should kill yourself." Okay, I don't know the exact wording, but she was saying you should go kill yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, that's somebody, you are a sick, sick individual if that's how you get your kicks. Okay, so
Yes.
Chrissy Teigen, I think, is human garbage. She's garbage.
She is
And
garbage.
Meghan Markle, who, someone just emailed me and was reminding me to reread the Australian coverage of Harry and Meghan's official royal tour in Australia and the hissy fits she was throwing. And, the hot beverage that allegedly found itself smacking an assistant in the body, in the face, I don't know where. So there are two bullies who are desperate to be considered America's best friend among a cohort of females who they believe are easily influenced to purchase their garbage.
Mhm.
They're garbage.
Yeah. When it comes to Meghan and Harry, I feel like because I might have put it in our show notes, I probably did, but the idea that they're polling the worst they've ever polled, I'm sure that there are some sort of crisis management meetings that happen regularly where they try to determine how to change public perception. I mean, in the last few years, the joke has always been like another rebrand for Meghan, another rebrand for Harry and Meghan, another rebrand. But I wonder if one of the reasons that people just refuse to change course on their thoughts about Harry and Meghan, aside from the fact that they hate them and they're probably right for it, is because they don't their actions don't follow their words. You are just campaigning in New York to keep children off of social media. You are just campaigning to protect children on social media, children that have been so bullied that they take their own lives. And then you go and elevate this person, by elevate, Meghan's favorite word, by putting them, you're giving this person credibility by putting them on your show. You're endorsing this person by putting them on your show. And like you just pointed out, this is the same person that bullied a child, a 16-year-old kid, who now says that they were groomed. Uh,
Mhm.
you you're endorsing them by having them standing next to you on your show. Your actions don't match your words.
Well, this has been Meghan's problem since day one. And we all see her grasping for anything that will sort of reinforce this notion that she is welcomed among fellow famous people. There's this idea that I think that she holds, which is so completely immature and sad, frankly, that like, well, if somebody's famous, they must be a great person to know. I mean, I can point to any number of examples where it's actually the exact opposite. And people who often get to that level of fame have left a lot of bodies in their wake. There's a ruthlessness that comes with that that is not appealing. And it's all we see with her right now. I mean, again, with every sort of law, like, first of all, my question is, she announced, oh, we're renewed for season two, right? That's not a renewal. Like, they shot the whole thing at once and then they chopped it up, and they got to burn off the rest of it in the fall. But is she shooting additional episodes? Because this Chrissy Teigen announcement feels very like breaking news, right? Like, why wasn't she included in the initial rollout? Like, if she had Chrissy, why not front load her in the beginning? Because the only other real name Meghan had, sorry, was Mindy Kaling.
I think that those are the only two names she had in this whole thing other than Prince Harry. And Prince Harry apparently is not seen at all in season two, which I don't think is going to bode well, because there are people like me that now have no reason to watch it. I told you the last time this came out, I was instructed to watch 3 episodes to react to Prince Harry's presence or mention in those episodes. I don't even think I'll be able to tolerate season 2, round 2, without any Prince Harry. And that is your only currency.
It is her only currency. And I don't, I just don't know what she's doing, because in anticipation of coming on to talk to you, I did listen to a little bit of the
Why?
latest podcast.
Oh my
Okay.
God. You and I both, I was about to jump out the window.
Okay, Kinsey, I started off with my earbuds in, and within 2 minutes, I was like, I cannot physically have her voice this close, like in my ear canal. I have to remove the earbuds and put it on speaker and move it a little bit away. This is how like revolting I find her,
Yeah.
and she's talking a bunch of garbage to some woman who founded a makeup line, a woman who, by the way, comes from enough money that she says to her mother, I know you're saving up for all of our weddings. So this woman's put aside like 100K for each kid. She comes from money. Give me my money so I can have my seed money. But she's talking about bootstrapping and like struggling, and spare me. Okay.
Yeah,
This,
both of them are like that though. Like both of them are not, eating out of a dumpster because are not able to pay their rent because they're so emotionally invested in these brands. They're Meghan Markle is in the position she's in because of the man she married. Yeah, you're talking about Kitsch founder Cassandra Thurswell. I secretly love the fact that they have sent me a bunch of free swag, because I'm like, and oh, you were friends with Meghan and I'm getting free swag. Clearly, you don't know what my day job is.
no kidding.
But it says, speaking to her guest, because Meghan made it all about herself yet again, Meghan revealed how she likes to show up for people, with this gesture extending over to her business as ever. She also talked about how she always imagined having her kid on her hip doing speeches, and how her circumstances changed that direction. They discussed the struggle of balancing their parenting duties with growing their business. We just found out Meghan has a nanny. Well, are we really supposed to be able to relate to this woman, who also, I think Doria Ragland almost lives with them full time as well? She has plenty of help. I'm sorry, but you don't fit in this category of like boss girl, working mom who's about to pull her hair out, when you've got plenty of people to help you juggle it all.
Yeah, I don't believe there's only one nanny.
Yeah.
There are multiple nannies. I think there are multiple handlers. The household staff is vast, I believe. What's also really interesting about, so the show is so boring to listen to, and the only thing that is remotely like interesting are these little tells that Meghan gives about what a freaking, my opinion, malignant narcissist she is. She tells us that she has known this woman since they were both sort of struggling in their respective industries and was introduced to her at age like 23 or 24. This woman came over to help her figure out how to dress. If she's any good at it, none of the lessons stuck because we just keep looking at Meghan in these like billowing pants that are the hems are dragging all over the place. Okay. And the clothes are wrinkled and whatever. And so she says, so Cassie, and then Cassie goes, it's so funny, Meghan, shades of, I'm Sussex now. It's so funny you call me Cassie, because like the only people in my life who call me that are my closest family members. So it's a little cut. It's a little like you're assuming a familiarity with me that you don't have and hasn't been earned, right? And then Meghan goes, oh, well, I just love that I'm one of the people who can call you that because, we've known each other for so long. And then it comes out that Meghan knew none of this woman's backstory.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I didn't know any of that. You didn't know because you didn't ask her one single freaking question about herself because you only are interested in people to the extent that they can redound to your benefit in some way. It's ridiculous.
Do you think that this will last? I mean, I'm not disparaging Lemonada Media, but it's not like Spotify where the return on investment is so important, having cut them such a significant check or original deal. I think Lemonada is kind of like a go with the flow kind of place, and the name association in their mind benefits them. I feel like they might, as long as she's not difficult, and we know she was at Spotify, calling in, demanding changes, at the very last minute, them having to pull the episode, re-upload it, 17 freaking producers for one show. Do you think that as long as she's not difficult, Lemonada will allow her to kick this can? Because I'm with you. I think that the content is almost painful. There's nothing enjoyable when it comes to Confessions of a Female Founder. I don't believe she's friends with any of these people in real life because she's so awkward in the way she communicates. So you don't get that. Like people message me all the time. They say they can tell that we love each other. We do. We're comfortable
Right,
with each other. We're not frigid.
right.
I just don't know if there's any value in this from a PR perspective. I'm sure Lemonada's like, oh, it's brand recognition for us, but it just seems like such a waste.
God, what I would give to see those numbers. Like
Yeah.
what I would give to see the analytics, because they can tell down to the second how
Mhm.
engaged an audience is when they're tuning out, when they're coming back. Like I would kill, and this is why I don't feel, I've ceased to feel sorry anymore for anybody who gets in business with these two. You know exactly what you're getting. You know it.
Yeah.
So if you take a hit, it's on you. Okay. Now, the problem with, I'm always diagnosing Meghan, like, but she's sort of she's just like one of those patients. There was this famous book written in the 40s called The Mask of Sanity, and it was by a doctor who kind of figured out there's this portion of the population that is psychopathic and they cannot be treated. They're resistant to any kind of treatment. And I view Meghan as kind of just completely treatment resistant on any level, right? There's no amount of advice she will take. There's no amount of scolding that will humble her. There's no lesson she will learn that will cause her to course correct, nothing. But I think the foundational sediment of her problem is that she has zero sense of humor.
Mm.
And if you don't have a sense of humor, you have nothing for anybody to latch on to relate to you about. You can't laugh at yourself. You take yourself so seriously. Why do you take yourself so seriously? You're on this planet for a nanosecond. Enjoy. She can't. She can't. And I think that is her fun. And so when she's doing these things like, oh, I was just looking at my old report. Who looks at their old report cards? Or, oh, that was so funny. That was so funny. You're like, it's all fake.
Yeah.
It's real.
I think you're the first person I've ever heard say that about how she has no sense of humor and how detrimental that is truly, because we all talk about authenticity and that is of course at the core, yes, but have laugh at something sincere, laugh at something genuine. Prince Harry used to.
Hmm.
And there's the story of them going on a shooting weekend and her scolding him and his friends because she didn't like the jokes that they were telling, and he hasn't. hung out with a lot of those people since then because she was so horrified by their sense of humor and the way that they engaged with each other, which is sad for him. And we could see that when he was randomly knocking on doors that he feels so deflated. But it's almost I said for a couple of years these two need to adopt self-deprecation and people might tolerate them a little bit better. But I think it's too late in the game now. I think if we saw that now, we'd be like, oh God, just stop trying. You gave the example of the bridge, London Bridge, and Meghan just like careening into it. Like, I'm shoving myself on you. I'm not going to stop. And that's kind of how it is now. Even if they tried to go the self-deprecation route and like make a joke out of it all, we'd be like, just, could you just stop? We just need some air. You guys are, I feel a restraining order coming on me against you. Leave me alone.
Yeah, so by the way, Kinsey, when I saw that footage this weekend, this was like breaking news here in New York.
Yeah.
A Mexican Navy ship with like a huge mast and all of these billowing sails careened itself right into the Brooklyn Bridge. And it just you saw the ship go like it just fell apart. The bridge is the immovable object, but the ship just keeps on going. Like it's smashing and it keeps on going. And in my mind, I saw that. I said, Meghan Markle is the ship and the Brooklyn Bridge is the rest of us.
Yes.
And she's going to keep smashing into us with her repeated attempts to be successful and well liked. And we are going to completely gray rock and resist it. You can smash up against our rock as much as you want. It's not happening, sister. Okay.
Oh.
And by the way, that anecdote about the hunting weekend, such a good hang that, Meghan, right? You know, like, oh, Harry's like, I'm bringing Meghan. Everybody's like, Jesus Christ. Did you ever hear the rumor, and you would be the person to know, that at some point in their courtship, like he was getting second thoughts. He was really like, I don't know about this. He was beginning to put distance between them. And there was a wedding of one of Harry's closest friends, like in Jamaica, and she wasn't invited, but she showed up anyway.
I did not hear that she wasn't invited, but she showed up anyway. But I heard that there was tension there.
It's interesting. I think the
That's
truth is somewhere in the middle, maybe.
yeah, no, I think it's worth looking up. Like I hesitate to believe that there were second thoughts because she kept threatening him. I'm going to leave you if you don't. Valentine Lowe writes about this, I believe, in Courtiers, and he's got a new book coming out. And Valentine Lowe says that she threatened, when he initially announced their relationship, it was because she said, we do this and you tell everybody I'm with you. And remember, she's this little old girl on a cable show suit.
Right.
Like, I'm sure it is. And she's an influencer. I'm sure it's killing her that she can't tell the world that she bagged this guy because she's been hustling her entire life for fame. And this she knows is going to take her to the next level. So word gets out that, they get a call allegedly on like the night after Halloween or the night after a Halloween party. And allegedly she's like, we tell them, we say we're together or I'm done. I don't want to hide anymore. Then she, according to Valentine Lowe, threatens to leave him if he doesn't come out and defend her from some of the coverage, the tabloid coverage she doesn't like in the UK. And I remember having to cover this in Sacramento as a local news anchor, being like, what? We had to cover that Harry was defending her from racism. And at the time, I don't even think that some of the examples that they give existed yet. I think that there were a couple of headlines, which I do not, straight out of Compton. It was just stupid. It was just dumb. But, there were a couple of instances where she threatened to leave him. And a part of the reason why I don't believe that he had any second thoughts is because she created a real fear of abandonment in him that she knew he was already struggling with because of his mom.
Right.
So I don't know. I feel like he was always like, I don't want to lose her. I don't want to lose her. I don't want to lose her. I feel like we still see that today.
Well, now we definitely see it because he's in so deep, right? He's cut off his entire family of origin and he's got these two kids and this new life. And she's running around town telling everybody how happy they are every 5 minutes. Excuse my language. But I think I'm very curious about the power dynamics because I think in the early days they were shifting. And what told me that was the Netflix doc, the first version that those two did. And she's talking about how when they, after that first date, it was just like they had to see each other all the time. And so it was always like flying and flying and flying. And if you look at the diaries that she kept of her travels, because of course she did, it's always M to London, M to London. And now she's working. I will give her that. She has a schedule. It's never H to Vancouver, ever. What is he doing? That guy's got nothing but free time.
Right.
Nothing. So she's the one who's really pursuing him
Jason. Yeah.
while placing, embedding in his mind, like, I'm the reincarnation of your mother. You have to protect me. I'm going to be in grave mortal danger. And I think even her threats to leave him could have been a kind of, I'm going to beat you to it, right? I'm going to threaten. Now I'm going to put that fear in you. How do you like it?
Mm.
That's what I think I don't, because his friends hate her.
Yeah.
They hate her. And and William was like, don't slow this down. I mean, I'm sure Catherine was like, you might want to slow this down, and when everyone in your life who has been there since the beginning is having a reaction this strong, I know he's thick. I know his mother said it, but I cannot believe that didn't have some role in him maybe having a second thought or two once in a while.
I also think there's the Romeo and Juliet of it all, though. Like when you've got, because Earl Spencer stepped in because of Prince William's request. When you have everybody saying she's not right for you, you're like, but I love her. And it almost makes you like more obsessed with the idea. But no, he's so stubborn to begin with. You talk about the power dynamics. There is something to be said. Like if this were a man that had taken a woman away from her entire family and she was isolated, we would be sitting back going like, is there any sort of emotional abuse happening here? The fact that this girl has lost her entire life. If it was a princess who had lost her entire life and her standing in society, I mean, Prince Harry's a joke now, knocking on dumpster doors. We would all literally be concerned for this person. But the fact that it's Meghan that is the boss, it seems like we just are all sitting back going, okay. I mean, Harry's not a victim. I should say that. I think he's been so cruel to his family. He's no victim. But I also think that if the sexes were changed, I do think that people would be a little bit more judgmental. And because Meghan's the one in the driver's seat, people are like, oh, but she's so, she's basically a reality star. How much control can she have over him? He was a prince.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think early on, I certainly felt like that. Like this is somebody who seems to be systematically, cutting all of his ties to anyone else and isolating him. And that's what, I'm not saying she is, but that's what abusers do. That's
Yeah.
what they do. And I think the problem is though that he is just as reprehensible and so deeply unlikable. We saw the real Harry. He's entitled. He's full of grievances. He made his dying grandfather's last moments on this earth hell with that Oprah interview, slinging around those accusations of racism. He did it to his grandmother, the late Queen Elizabeth. He's done it to everybody, and nobody, he sold out his entire family. And then he just went on the BBC and said, basically in sum and substance, my family, my father, the king, and my brother, the future king, want me dead.
Wait,
But I would love to get back in. Who cares about what his hell is like at home? I frankly think like you're the architect of your own misery. If you're sad, I don't feel bad for you. You have it coming. You get what you give. Like this is it. This is life.
did you see those headlines that about them hanging out with Brooklyn and Nicola Beckham, Harry and
Yeah,
Meghan?
no, they think this is another win, Kinsey.
And like it's not. I mean, I would no. It's just like the reject patrol. But what killed me was yesterday seeing David Beckham with the king and Queen Camilla at the flower show. And it's just like you're so, that's the A team. You're with grilled cheese Beckham. I want to be with Benedict Beckham. Like I want to be with the real thing. Like you got the Timu version.
Remember when David Beckham lined up like any other British citizen to view the Queen's casket hours on end, refused to take a shortcut, and people loved him for that's class. Like
Yeah.
that's how you do it in the public eye. Now, I would bet that Meghan and Brooklyn were talking about, do you think what excellent chefs they are?
Yes,
You know, I love Brooklyn Beckham because he's 10 years into this fledgling career as a chef. Like they still call him like the aspiring chef. He was an aspiring photographer for a while, an aspiring DJ. It's like these celeb you spawn who are just casting about. They have no talent, but they want to be known for something in a glamour field. You know,
but
that's
this is exactly what we're talking about with Chrissy. Like when you team up with somebody that's known for something that's not positive, it only makes it hyper only makes us hyper aware that you're both flailing. Like you two are both bullies. Brooklyn is the lost nepo baby with Prince Harry, the lost nepo baby. When you team up with somebody, you want to team up with somebody that's doing better than you, so people assume you're on the up and up. You don't want to team up with somebody that's also failing miserably, because then we all sit back and go, oh, you guys have that in common, and that I'm not very impressed with that, you know.
one of my mother's favorite sayings used to be water seeks its own level, which is basically what you're saying. Like
Yeah.
if you want to be like a happy, successful person, you seek out those people and you learn from them and you grow and all of that. If you're healthy, I think. And if you're a very unwell, sick person, as I think the Sussexes are, you're just basically seeking out and attracting, like attracts like. And not for nothing, but Nicola Peltz, whose father is a billionaire, is being accused of the same thing, of separating Brooklyn from his very famous, very successful family, which was otherwise we got the branding that the Beckhams are extremely close, and that they really love their kid. They do seem to really love their kids, and I just so why they think this is like a power summit for the
Yeah.
ages, like it's delusional.
All right. So Ryan Reynolds appeared on Conan O'Brien's Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. That's Conan's podcast, where they playfully, says the New York Post, poked fun at Meghan Markle for being a middleman for jars of jam. Now, Ryan has been pretty open about his strained relationship with his parents, but especially his father, like how his father always made him feel not good enough, and how he just, even today with his father gone, he always just feels like his father's disappointed in him. And now Ryan says that he thought his dad worked for the CIA. He was a food broker, but it turns out it just meant he was a middleman for jars of jam. Conan O'Brien cracks up and says, what? He works for Meghan Markle? And then he says, tiny jams, harvestable jams made from the oils of Montecito. And Ryan Reynolds says, if Jumbo Reynolds wasn't dead, I'd say he is Meghan Markle. And then Conan O'Brien jokes, many people have likened the two. We talk so much about Meghan shoving herself down our throats. Unfortunately, I used to like Ryan Reynolds. Unfortunately, this Justin Baldoni thing has unraveled that. But it does say a lot that he's almost leaning into poking fun at Meghan Markle. They were just on the Time 100 Summit stage, on the same day. He's got to know he's in the same category along with Blake and Harry and Meghan at this point in time when it comes to the public sympathy for them and any sort of public interest. Does it say anything to you that he allowed Conan to go there? He kind of leaned into the joke.
Well, first of all, I didn't know that backstory about Ryan Reynolds and his dad, which I find fascinating and which explains what I've always detected in Ryan Reynolds, which is a real rage simmering under that placid, affable, nice guy surface. I never bought it for a second. And yeah, I think Ryan Reynolds should be very careful. I think he seems to be one of the middlemen involved in this Blake v. Baldoni lawsuit that is torching the two of them. Okay, he's catching it too. Blake has been cut off publicly. We know they have said this. Taylor Swift, dead to her. Gigi Hadid, dead to her. There was a very starry 30th birthday party for Gigi in New York City last week. Bradley Cooper was there, Anne Hathaway was there. Guess who was not there? Blake, also Ryan, not at the Met Gala. Attend to your own conflagrations at home. Tend to your own troublesome woman at home. I don't know why he's out there, period. He should be at home begging his wife to settle this lawsuit before it destroys them completely.
Do you in regards to that lawsuit, there are people that have noted that Blake has a history with falling in love with her co-stars,
Mhm.
and they've suggested that Blake might have felt something for Justin Baldoni, and a lot of this rage is Ryan Reynolds reacting to what he deemed inappropriate. I mean, all of this is allegedly and whatever else I have to say, so I don't get in trouble with anybody and I don't get sued. But any thoughts on that? That maybe Blake didn't hate the attention, or I mean, Justin Baldoni says there was no attention.
Well, my theory of the case has always been that this feels way too personal. Like, she's pretty powerful, her husband's very powerful, Justin Baldoni is not. If it was that bad of an experience, you just walk away from it and you never work with him again. And maybe you start like a little whisper campaign in the industry, but you don't take it to the New York Times and then file a monster lawsuit attempting to destroy this guy. We saw some of the text messages that she was sending to Justin Baldoni. They are very sexually suggestive. She's
Ooh.
basically implying she will give him oral favors and that she knows how to not use her teeth. Okay.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, she thinks this is like clever romantic banter. Yeah, it's right out of the 30 screwball comedies with like Cary Grant and Carol Lombard. Give me a break. It's so all completely embarrassing. And again, like, these are people who don't know when to quit. They're like Harry and Meghan. I think Ryan Reynolds doesn't realize the parallels and the similarities here between himself and Blake and Harry and Meghan.
Mm-hmm. If you look at their PR playbook, it's almost identical right now. And they're both heading in the worst possible direction ever. I say, like you, they should have settled this thing, but I'd also go away for several years.
Oh,
And
100%.
neither one of them want to do that. They show up in places where they shouldn't be. The Time 100 summit, most influential. I mean, it just tells us that the only person we approve of on that list is Megyn Kelly, but it just tells us that like everything else is just they're using these people for us to talk. I mean, why would we be talking about the Time 100? We've been talking about it relentlessly because it was just so shocking that Meghan Markle would sit on that stage with a brand that's 2 months old to gloat about how successful she is. You married well. Your brand there's not even enough time to determine whether or not this brand is going to be here 12 months from now.
And it won't, I can promise you, because I ordered some of that stuff for my day job at the Daily Mail, and the packaging just like falls apart. It's really cheap. And secondly, Blake Lively got up at the Time 100 Summit and talked about her mother's rape.
I know.
F off. Like, talk about cynical. Like, that is a private, sacred thing. Like, don't do that. And I just think it's so stupid because, like, I am not a crisis manager, but I often, when things like this happen, I think to myself, if I were a crisis manager, what would I tell people to do? And listen, we've got a circus going on in downtown New York City right now, known as the Sean Diddy Combs trial, okay? Pay this guy a good amount of money that he certainly deserves for getting his name dragged through the mud. Take your brood of children and go away and let everybody's eyes go to Diddy and let all their outrage go there. Okay. This is an easy play. It's an easy play. And you're okay. Go ahead. Just keep burning yourself in the public square. No one will feel sorry for you when this ends. No one.
I know, but Megan's kind of not in the same position because there are people that are always trying to create royal news. Royal news is never ending. What would you say for Meghan and Harry? Because I don't think that the Diddy trial gives them that freedom.
Well, this is what they said they wanted in the beginning, right? They were leaving for privacy and they were going to go to Vancouver, which everybody said, oh, they're going down to LA, which they did.
Yeah.
The South Park did it first and did it best, right? The worldwide privacy tour. They could have retired into a private kind of life. People do it. Presidents used to do it. Far more famous people use. Greta Garbo is like, I know this is old Hollywood. It's the greatest example. The whole thing with her was, I want to be alone. And people left her alone. And she would be seen in New York City, but she lived a private life. Now, granted, before the internet and social media, but it can be done. And Megan thinks that she is so relentlessly interesting that we want to see and hear her all the time. And we don't, again, like what I would give for the Netflix numbers,
Yeah.
the analytics there. And the talk within those walls about what it's like to deal with her, because she's always throwing these fits, right? Like she's a mind like a Steve Jobs or an Elon Musk. Well, I'm so brilliant, you gotta listen to me.
Yeah.
She's a moron. She's not that bright, in my opinion. Just my opinion.
No, I think that's pretty factual, but I understand allegedly. Yeah, it bothered me today when I heard her say, and this will be our final discussion. You've been so gracious with your time. Thank
So
you. But when
fun,
she said
please.
she loves to show up for people, I recoiled when she said that because last year, Catherine, a young mother, was being absolutely destroyed in the press. Where's Catherine? Photoshop gate, uh, people secretly recording her outside of the grocery store while she's dealing with cancer. The king still has cancer. And like you just brought up the BBC interview, Harry and Meghan still basically attacking this family. Cancer is something that affects everybody. If Meghan wanted to prove any sort of kindness or that she shows up for people, that she had any sort of an ounce of empathy or compassion, we would have seen or heard of some of the nice things she tried to do for Harry's family throughout the last 2 years, which have been very difficult thanks to horrendous cancer, but also cancer on top of cancer, Catherine and the king. And they made one statement and that was it. I'm sorry, but your fruit baskets just don't cut it. We've watched these two struggle. In King Charles's case, I think he's been very courageous in the way that he's come back to work. Catherine, too, thankfully, she's in remission, but he's not. But we've watched this family really struggle. And the cancer is after multiple losses. Prince Philip dies. Queen Elizabeth dies. The whole monarchy flipped upside down. Now the king has to adjust to his new role. Oh, you have cancer, by the way. I mean, you think about the true, and I know that this is a privileged family, but you think about the devastation that they've suffered over the last 5 years, and you think that about the way Meghan has handled it, accusing them of racism, whatever, now she's shilling jam, and you're just like, you don't have any empathy. You have no compassion whatsoever.
Well, this makes me think of the image that she threw up last week on her Instagram account, which, by the way, likes and comments seem to be permanently disabled. Some likes are up, some likes are whatever. But it was after that court ruling where, Harry was once again, like for the third time, it's like, get the message, you dolt. You're not getting security paid for by the British taxpayers. It's not happening.
Well,
And
it is happening on a case by case basis. Stop bitching. It
right,
happens on a case
exactly.
by case basis. Like you're lying.
Sorry, you're so right. I'm like their messaging is like getting into my pores. Anyway, so he goes and he bitches and moans to the BBC, and then she puts up an image of Harry and the two children with their backs to the camera, walking away in black and white, and that is her FU to the king who is battling cancer and still doing his duty. She is a nasty piece of work. She is a deeply, in my opinion, unwell, unhappy person who is a nasty piece of work. And this is why people don't buy her as a likable person, as a relatable person, as somebody they want in their living rooms, even if it's only mediated by a screen. They don't want you there, lady, okay? And she can't figure this most elemental thing out. And why am I going to take advice from someone who can't figure this crap out?
Right. Nasty piece of work. Perfect that Chrissy Teigen is going to be on season 2 of With Love Meghan because like attracts like in the universe. So congratulations, ladies. That is a dumpster fire that I might tune in for that dumpster fire. God knows that the mix of those two, I think that's going to be pretty toxic. I hate to say I'm looking forward to it. Are you judging me?
I'm not judging you. I just think it's really funny that Megan, who has sort of come full circle and she's back to like basically a suitcase girl on a game show. Like Chrissy Teigen is best known for being on like Watch What Happens Live. She's like a fill-in guest they can call at the last minute when somebody who's really famous and accomplished at what they do drops out. It's like, well, Chrissy will do it. You know, she's like, I saw her at the White House Correspondents' Dinner one year with like the Vanderpump Rules people, and they're all just so fake. It's like they know how to like they see each other and then they just come together like magnets and they immediately array themselves to pose in their best from their best sides, their best angles, their best this. They don't say a word to each other really, and then they just go their separate ways. Like that's what that world is. It's all fake.
Yeah, I'm over it. All right. Agree with this, disagree with this? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Maureen Callahan, I love you. If you haven't watched The Nerve yet today, you can head on over to Maureen's YouTube channel, The Nerve. You're also available wherever you listen to podcasts. So it's The Nerve with Maureen Callahan. Make sure you check that out. And Maureen, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kinsey. Love you too.